Hey everybody, it's the Dynamite Show. Paul Fontaine alongside Jeff Hawkins, as always. Me doing the intro this week instead of Jeff's fine introduction last week. And Jeff, pardon the pun, but I am fit to be tied.
How is that a pun?
We'll get to it.
Oh, okay. Oh, gotcha. Now I got it. Okay.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, watching this show tonight, I was distracted through the whole show. And there was some damn good wrestling on this show. I'm not going to lie, and some good angles and but I was so frustrated watching this show. And
why? Tell me. Come sit on the couch and tell Jeff, Dr. Jeff.
Okay. For, I don't know, 2 weeks now, I've been, playing out different scenarios about what could happen and who could advance and all this and all that. And then after last week's show, it occurred to me, well, we had a very real possibility of a three-way tie.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what happens in the case of a three-way tie. And so I'm asking people, and as far as I know, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, New Japan's been doing this G1 for, 25 years or something. Different formats, different point systems, everything. I don't think they've ever had a three-way tie. I don't think there's ever been a three-way final.
No.
So, okay, no, so there's no precedent. Now, one of the differences is that there's a different point system here. You get 3 points for a win instead of 2. You get 1 point each for a double count out instead of 0, which never came into play anyways, so it doesn't matter. But I guess it could in future years if they do this again, which I'm assuming they will because it's been pretty well received. But and I heard people say, well, they'll probably just do a three-way. And it's like, okay, but
they haven't told us. They told you that, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Because there's other things they could do. They could have a play-in. They could have an elimination match, and honestly, that's what I think would be the fairest, is if you had a three-way, but it's a three-way dance, like an ECW, as opposed to a three-way, like a WWE style three-way where first pin wins, because this is a cop-out. This is how you get away with not beating Swerve twice.
I agree. I mean, you could have had, if you win by submission, that's a tiebreaker. You could have had,
match times.
Match times, yes. The infamous beat the clock stipulations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily do that, and certainly if you were going to do that, you would have.
But it would have been nice up top. Or at least in the course of operating this thing.
And I'm not suggesting the announcer should have been hammering it home or anything like that. They did a special at the beginning of this tournament. Mm-hmm. They never even told us at that time what happens in the case of a tie. They only brought that up. It was 2 weeks ago. They said in the case of a tie, head-to-head record breaks the tie. Okay, so that's one question answered. At the beginning of this tournament, they could have just had the rules on the screen, but put them up there. Don't mention it again until it comes into play. As it was, we found out. So there was, I lost it at the beginning of this show. At the end of the opener, spoiler alert, we'll get to it. But at the opener, Swerve wins his opening match. And the other thing is they kept saying if Rush wins, he's alive. And I'm playing in my mind, okay, how is that possible? Okay, so if Rush wins and Moxley wins, then there's a three-way tie with 9 points for second. Who advances?
You know what would have helped here is instead of going directly to the match, they have a little bit of a recap segment here, and they give you the standings, and then they tell you if this happens on this day, if this happens, how or at least even like a playoff picture type thing, like they do in the NFL. If so wins this,
I'm not even suggesting devoting TV time to this. They do a 30-minute countdown show every week. I think it's 30 minutes, might be 60. I don't know. Do it on there. And then at least your answer's there. People are going to be tweeting about it, and there's an official answer. So you don't have a question. So what I was saying, though, is so at the end of the first match, Swerve wins. He's punched his ticket into the finals. They put up a graphic. If Moxley wins, then the final is Moxley versus Swerve. If Jay White wins, there's a three-way tie for first. And they're still talking, and the sound and the audio goes out. And it comes back, and they're talking about something else. They may have explained it in that 5 seconds that the audio was out.
They might have.
If they did, well, hey, you know what? Then that's my bad for for them screwing up.
That's right. Nobody would know because everybody else's audio and video were out too.
I think maybe Fight, because there were some people that were telling me, "Oh, it'll be a three-way. It'll be a three-way," and it's like, well, I don't know. Well, no, I mean, because people have been saying that all along. John Muse in the Discord he's called this right down. Like, I give hats off to John. He has basically called exactly what's going to happen for this whole tournament. But
he was speculating at the same time. Look, if it doesn't happen on TV, it doesn't matter. That's a Hawkins.
Yes. Yeah. And my friend, anyways, I don't know if you're friends with him, Josiah. He is the same thing. He was explaining.
I like Josiah. Come on.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if you did. He was explaining the same thing, and I mean, it's a good guess. It's an educated guess.
But it's still a guess. It's a
guess. Yes.
Yeah, it's for everybody else to write the story.
Yeah.
They need to tell us this story.
Exactly. So, so I was bothered and distracted by all that. And, and again, I still want to know, like, what would have happened. I mean, Jason makes a point. Yeah, they make their own results. Fair has no bearing. I'm not talking about fair. I'm just talking about, if you want me as a viewer to be invested in the results of this stuff, explain what happens. If this happens, this is what happens. I'm very curious. And if anyone's watching, and we have more than usual watching, if anyone was there, and I imagine if they were, they're probably still there because they're taping ROH, but do you think the fans in the building had any idea that it was a three-way? I guess with Swerve coming out, maybe that's why they had Swerve come out, so they would know. But I don't think those fans knew as they were watching the match, if Jay White wins, it's a three-way. I bet you they had no idea.
You can ask Kevin Ely this because he's at the
Yeah, well, Kevin's going to say, well, I just assumed it was going to be a three-way.
Just burying people left and right today,
burying Kevin. Like, because he said that all along. And he was one, he said he didn't care. He's just watching the matches, and they'll tell me what happened. Kevin Ely said Tony came. Kevin Ely said Tony came out and said it was a three-way. So
there you go.
He told the fans. I wonder if that was after the match or at the beginning of the show.
Hey guys, really great show tonight. Just want to let you know it's going to be a three-way, and that's why everybody came out.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If he did that, good for them. But as they're watching, do they know? Because honestly, and the thing is, in your mind, you'd be thinking, well, they said head-to-head, the winner advances. So if White beat Moxley, he's probably in the finals. Because he beat Mox.
I agree with you. And I want to attack the people who are going to attack you.
Okay.
Because what they're going to say is, do you need everything spoon-fed to you and explained to you? Because aren't you a grown man of agency that knows everything? No. It's like, no, I'd like to know.
That's not what I was getting.
Playoff potential.
You won't believe what they were telling me this week. What they were telling me this week was, they'll tell us when we need to know.
They'll tell us when we need to know? Okay.
Yes. And it's like, I don't expect the NFL to explain in week 1 what happens in week 10. Oh, and this was Kevin. Kevin said, well, they didn't explain what would happen if every single match in the tournament ended in a draw.
All right. Now we're getting a little ridiculous here. But
now, I will tell you this. I will tell you this, Jeff. I don't know if you figured this out, and I'm a math guy. There is a very real possibility that there'll be a 5-way tie in the Saturday League. If Brody beats Garcia, which should happen, Garcia hasn't won a match yet, although a lot of people are expecting him to win the last one. If Eddie beats Andrade, which a lot of people figure is going to happen because he's kind of his tournament to lose, and if Claudio beats Danielson, now that's the one that is probably would be a pretty big upset if it happened. But if those 3 things happen, there's a 5-way tie. They're all 3-2, and if the only opponent that's not in that tie is Garcia, and they all beat Garcia, so that means they're all 2-2 against each other. So there's a 5-way tie. So I'm assuming it would be a 5-way.
I believe conference record would then come into play, and then you could.
There's no
football. That's football. Here. I'm kidding.
Yeah. But that's what it would be. It would be a 5-way. And Tony loves his battle royals. I mean, maybe let's just do a battle royal with the 5 guys.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they didn't tell you all the rules so they could then surprise you with the multi-person matches, and I'm not. That doesn't fly with me. I like having, but I like also. I just wish they'd be a little bit more thorough. I think thoroughness is the problem here.
Yeah. Other than that, though, I mean, like I said, a very good show.
I mean, because I'd like a lot of these promos that they're showing on social media on TV, because I think it would get this tournament over so much more. And it's not that the tournament's bad. Don't get me wrong. I like the tournament. I like the work. I like all that other stuff. It just has never hit that second level for me in terms of, can't wait for this week or whatever, because I think all the emotion of it is done on social media for the most part. I liked the clip job they did tonight on Dynamite. That was nice. But
they've done a few of those.
No, and I'm not saying they haven't. I'm just saying for the most part, a lot of the emotional resonance of this tournament is done outside of the auspices of television.
Would you say that a lot of the enthusiasm for this tournament from a lot of the very vocal AEW hardcore fans are probably the people that are watching all of those interviews, and that's more why they're into it?
No, I think the people that are most vocal about this tournament don't care about that stuff. They just want the good matches.
Okay. And I will be fair, like the
that's good, and that's good enough for them, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, but for my ice cream, I like a little bit of sprinkles on it. That's all.
The matches have been great. No question about that. I mean, there hasn't been anything resembling a bad match.
What's been your favorite match?
Gosh, off the top of my head,
I won't say best because that doesn't matter to me.
My favorite probably Danielson and Garcia.
Okay,
just because I like those two guys, and
mine would shock you, I think.
Brody and Roosh. No, they didn't wrestle each other.
No, they did.
Yeah,
but you're close. Brody and Andrade.
That was great.
I love that match, man. That thing was. Andrade so badly wants to be in a meat division.
Yeah. Well, he's getting there for the size too. Yeah. The former La Sombra is now I don't know, he's getting into Black Taurus territory. I like I said, I think this tournament has been a success. I hope they do it again. I think there's almost no chance of this, but I wish that what they would do is drop the idea of the Triple Crown next year and just
number one contender for Wembley.
Yeah, not even like number one, like
for the big show, for the biggest show that they can get.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree. And that way it eliminates all the chatter about number one contenders and title eliminators and stuff. This is for the big deal. This is for the biggest show that AEW does every year, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I'm
flip this tournament with the Owen. Do the Owen at the end of the year, like
get rid of the Owen. I gotta be honest with it, or call this the Owen Continental or whatever you want.
But do this one in May. Kick it off at Double or Nothing, and then do the tournament matches on in between Double or Nothing, and do a match of Forbidden Door for the tournament. Maybe the finals could be at Forbidden Door, and then the winner would get his shot at Wembley. Yeah, and you got like 2 months to build.
Yeah, so. I think the stakes are also. While they say it's nice to have this Triple Crown, I find them very low.
It depends who you are. I mean, for Eddie Kingston, it's huge.
For Eddie Kingston, it's huge. For like a Jay Lethal, it's huge. For Mark Briscoe, it's huge. But
Jay
for
White,
guys
maybe
at the top of the card, not
maybe
so
for
much.
Jay White,
maybe
it's his angle back into New Japan because he got kicked out. All right, there was something big in AEW this week that I wanted to hit on before we get into the recap. I can't. Oh, the freaking WBD story. We never talked about that, did we?
I don't think so, but we can now.
Yeah. Just the fact that WWE allegedly met with WBD and everyone's panicking. Tony kind of lost his shit about it. And I think it was the presser for ROH and he's like just being all defensive. I mean, and there's, I'm sure WBD is looking and maybe it's going to be too expensive for them. Who knows? But I don't really think there's much to it. I don't think they're going to end up on WBD, but you never know.
I'm going to quote Al Pacino and Dick Tracy.
Okay.
All's fair in love and business. This is business.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this depends on whether or not WBD can re-sign the NBA to a happy contract. Mm-hmm. If WBD is doing, I mean, there was a story today that they're looking to possibly buy Paramount.
I saw that. Yeah.
Which, dude, Zaslav going into Paramount and just cutting all the IP there in terms of projects and stuff like that. I mean, look, Zaslav is a Calvin Coolidge penny pinching tightwad for the most part. I mean, he is there will be no fat on this. And he has a budget, I assume, and if the budget says you can get WWE, why would you not get WWE?
Yeah, they're McDonald's.
They're the Tiffany property. Yes.
Yeah.
And do you really want to live in a world where there's no Coke?
No, I don't. That's my one thing I don't like about Vegas.
Walter White. Yeah.
Vegas is all Pepsi and all those stupid casinos.
Yeah, it's one of those things, but it's look, I understand why Tony's mad too, because Tony has been loyal. Tony is the guy who says, I don't want to negotiate other properties against WBD because I like my relationship here. I get him being a bit jilted by this. I get a bit, and also a bit annoyed because it's little brother syndrome. And you're talking to those guys over there, whatever. Well, I don't know if WBD will buy NBC Universal. I still think a lot of this is for NBC Universal to overpay for Raw, and I still think
I think that's where my money is, because I think at this point Raw
is such valuable. And it's such a foundational part of Peacock.
Yeah,
and until soccer or football, whatever you call it, is the main draw of Peacock. And they're trying to do exclusivity on streaming football games, which will be very interesting, I think, in terms of I think it's Saturday night they're doing an exclusive stream for a football game only on Peacock.
Yeah, one of the NFL
one of the NFL games. So
interesting.
Yeah. But it's Zaslav, and he's not going to overpay for a product just because people like it.
No, exactly. All right. I want to remind everyone, if you're watching live on YouTube, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Helps us out. It brings some visibility to the channel and to this show in specific. And so, it just takes a quick second. Doesn't cost you anything. And as well, a reminder, we do not have the Patreon anymore. So this goes up on the Fight Game Media free feed as of tomorrow. So if you just caught part of this and you want to hear the rest of the show, just sign up for the Fight Game Media free feed, available on all your major podcast platforms. And speaking of which, because we don't have a Patreon anymore, we do have commercials. So for those listening on podcast, the commercial is going to be going in right about now. And watching live, Jeff and I are going to get right into AEW Dynamite.
Do we know who the commercial's for? Is it just a mid-roll that we don't know about?
Whatever that was, make sure to spend your money and buy it, everybody.
Yes. What a great sponsor.
Yeah,
insert sponsor name here. Yes,
they're my absolute favorite.
Yes,
I stand.
I use them every day.
Yeah, in fact, like if you're looking, you see my logo there. Unfortunately, the logo on my shirt is the sponsor that was just read, and we don't have it. So, but if I took off that ROH historian sign, you'd see who the sponsor is. But
yes,
YouTube doesn't like us.
All right, enough of this nonsense.
All right, so the show kicked off with Roosh versus Swerve. We talked about this earlier. I mentioned that Swerve won, but it was a good match. They were talking about, the different scenarios. They pointed out that, Roosh wins here. He's still alive, but then he's going to have to root for Moxley later. And that'll be unusual because he's trying to get a point. So this is where my head started spinning and, playing out all these different scenarios that they didn't bother explaining to me. But Swerve was a massive babyface. And the story of this was Swerve kept going to the top, and every time he would go to the top, the crowd would just go nuts because they wanted to see that Swerve stomp. And they teased it really well, and Roosh knocked him off a couple times. One point in, Roosh missed a senton. Swerve hit a 450, but then Roosh kicked out at 1, and then Roosh chopped him. Swerve hit a flatliner. Swerve hit a brainbuster for 2. He did the house call, and then he goes to the top, and that's when the crowd just lost it. And then he hit the move and pinned Roosh clean as a button in the middle. Swerve was a massive babyface here in Oklahoma City, which is, I missed the babyface churn, but the crowd didn't, and that's fine. They're just rolling with it, and that's good. Like he's not really changing anything about the way he is. The fans just love him.
They want to do the dance. They want to do the Nana dance, and that's fine. I will miss, because he is now no longer part of this tournament, but my favorite part of this tournament has been Roosh's just his absolute aura of intensity throughout this entire tournament. He's the one guy in this. Look, there's been better performances and better performers in this, but Roosh coming out angry every single match has been my favorite thing in it. I mean, he's just in there to beat people up and try and win. I liked their chemistry. I didn't love it necessarily. I think there's a little bit of clunkiness in here, but like whenever Roosh would get angry, like the kick out at 1 where he's just bad and Swerve being scared. I adore those moments in these matches. And look,
you normally don't like the 1 kick out spot, but you liked it here.
I normally don't, but I will forgive people occasionally for it. Okay. But yeah, no, I liked it here. And Roosh, I think look, I think it's weird to act as if, did this tournament help or hurt a guy? Because I think by nature of being in the tournament itself, it helped you.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. I mean, even a guy with 0 points like Jay Lethal, I think it helped him in some way.
Well, especially because they can play off of that.
Yeah.
And they can make it more serious. You know where I think it helped Roosh is not so much, in kayfabe. But in the idea was going into this tournament, the idea was Roosh doesn't like losing. And how's he gonna put up with not winning all his matches? And here he went 2-3. He got pinned clean 3 times.
I think that, and also just for a lot of the guys that are in stables, because we've gone to the well far too often with the interference crap. I think the no interference thing has really helped a lot of the guys who, for lack of a better term, are doing WWE style heel interference matches every single week.
Yeah.
And it really kind of loses their luster in terms of their actual talent at times, even as a heel or baby face. I mean, yes, you're supposed to be mad at them, but at a certain point, I just get effing annoyed by the fact that every week this whole stable comes down and then screws the baby face, and the baby face does nothing about it. So, I like that. I like, look, in these types of things, I've always loved heel versus heel matchups because they're naturally there. You have 2 imposing forces, like, again.
I think Roosh is a babyface, but I'm not positive.
He's gone back and forth because of that whole, because originally it was that, and then they decided to kind of turn him heelish for the 4-way tag team thing because they were teaming up with FTR, and then it's all of a sudden they don't like FTR anymore, and you're just like, well, that makes no sense. I mean, it's gotten confusing. Yes, I just think everybody is kind of self-involved, and they're hoping that everybody, well, shades of gray, blah blah blah. Well, you kind of like to know who you want to cheer for and who you want to boo.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and Swerve is kind of in the middle of a babyface turn, I think.
Yeah, and I think there's a little bit of wish casting in terms of the Swerve thing. I think people are going to try and will their way to give him the title.
Probably. So this is where they pointed out that if, so now Swerve is definitely in the finals. Mox is definitely in the finals. If Jay White wins, there's a 3-way tie, but they don't tell us what would happen with that case of that 3-way tie. So, and then I was getting messages from people, well, what happens? I'm like, I don't know. I watch all the shows. I take notes. I have no idea. Can't help you. So then we get a promo from Chris Jericho. He was pretty much not in character for this promo. And he was talking about Kenny Omega's injury, explained that he has diverticulitis. Kenny went on social media and explained this. I got that right? Diverticulitis?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the comment that just came through.
Oh.
Gotta love a character turning face fresh off of a breaking and entering angle. The Sopranos
and hanging
and the
hangman,
the whole anti-hero thing. Yeah. People love it.
Yeah. So he points out that we don't know what's going to happen. When we decide what happened, we'll let you know. The most important thing is Kenny's health. And the crowd starts chanting Kenny. And he said the Golden Jets will resume when he comes back. He does Kenny's catchphrase. And adieu and good night. And then he says, we're pulling for you, Kenny. Just a total white meat, out of character babyface promo by Jericho. They have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah, I liked the emotion of it, but then at the same time, he's also keeping his ear to the crowd on the outside in the arena, and that drove me a bit nuts. Like, dude, you're fine. You don't need to play to the crowd.
I knew they were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that. He pauses for Kenny.
Yeah. To me, the answer here is to give a call to Scott D'Amore and go, hey, can Lance get in shape for one last match?
Well, I think that would be more Colin Lance. I don't think.
Well,
Scott would
I
have a
think you
problem
have
with
to clear it with his employer first.
I don't know if Lance can probably do outside bookings. He's not under
Not for a
contract.
televised wrestling
True,
show.
maybe. You know what I think? You know what I would do here? I would put Garcia in there.
I liked that idea too, but
you had Callis trying to recruit Garcia at one point, and then he ended up taking Fletcher instead. So you could do Jericho and Garcia against Hobbs and
actually Luther wouldn't be the worst choice here either, if just because of the Jericho connection.
Yes, it would.
Oh, come on! I'm thinking Canadian connections here, my friend.
All right, Luther. It could also be Kota Ibushi. At some point, he seems to be the guy they always call. Hangman would be another good choice, I think. But I don't think it's happening at World's End, anyways.
Daddy Magic would be a good one.
Shut up! You did that on purpose.
I did because of the slander of Daddy Magic that Kevin Ely was telling me about. Oh.
What they absolutely should not do is use Sammy as a stand-in. Yeah, especially since he's in the Callis family.
Yeah, no, they should not. They should not turn him babyface right now.
He is cleared. They just have nothing for him right now. So
I have no problem with deathbed turns in terms of somebody does something dastardly to somebody and then a heel all of a sudden comes.
You know what I'm gonna tell you? For a second on Saturday, did you watch Collision?
I watched some of it.
Did you see the post match of the Sky Blue and Abaddon with?
Yes.
Okay. So when
I did watch Collision.
When someone ran in to save Sky Blue, I honestly thought Ty Mello had returned from having a baby before Sammy did. I swear I thought that was Ty Mello.
That was the worst. I look, I love Thunder Rosa, but I thought her return should have been hyped up for a week or so to say, hey, come get some viewers and things like that.
The thing is, I didn't recognize her. I don't think I've ever seen her without her face paint. I don't think she had long blonde hair the last time I saw her. I legit thought it was Ty Mello from the behind.
Yeah, I had forgotten I had watched all Collision because I was in a hotel room post Bengals game after getting punched in the face by Sean Ross Sapp.
I won
accidentally, but yeah.
So we don't know what's going to happen. Whatever is going to happen is probably not going to be at World's End. Is basically the what they left us with.
So what are we going to do for the tag team titles there? You think?
I don't even know who the tag team champions are.
It's Big Bill and Ricky Starks.
Ricky Starks. I don't think they even know. Probably Komander and Vikingo. Not even joking.
I'm not joking either. I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Or the Von Erichs, because they seem to be all over ROH.
Yeah, Von Erichs, I think have a match on
they're on a run on ROH.
ROH,
so come on, bring them.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Where's the show at Long Island? Oh God, it could be Silver and Reynolds.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah. All right. We got Mark Briscoe and Jay Lethal. And the audio and video cut out again at the beginning of this match, only for a couple seconds. No big deal. Tony Schiavone putting over how important it is that one of these guys is going to get a win. I thought a lot of people were predicting a draw here.
I was predicting a draw.
Yeah, no draws at all in this tournament so far. Lethal was still doing his Flair strut, except the Taz said it was out of respect to Jarrett. So I don't know if they're trying to distance themselves from Flair for some reason. I'm not sure. He went for a dive. Briscoe caught him, and he does the cactus elbow. And wrestling aficionado Excalibur calls it the Nestea plunge. I was like, what? Briscoe and Lethal versus Big Bill and Starks. I kind of like that. You know what? That's not the worst idea in the world, especially after this. So they go to break. They come back, and they're just going back and forth. Jay went for the Savage elbow. He hit it. Briscoe kicked out at 2. Then he goes up later. He does a Death Valley driver, and then he does the froggy bow. But Lethal got his knees up, and the announcers pointed out he's been going for this move every match, and people are scouting it, and they're getting, they're blocking it every time. So lethal injection, but Briscoe blocked it. Lethal hit a J driller for 2, and then he tried for another one, but Briscoe powered out. He went for a lethal injection again. Briscoe countered it. Then Briscoe hit a burning hammer, and he hit the J driller for the win. I thought this match was awesome. Not quite as good as the match they had, right after Jay Briscoe died earlier this year, but not far off. This one didn't have the emotion of that one, but
I would agree. And it had, and the And the announcers kind of set a silly tone. Do you know who Red Foo is?
No.
Okay. Red Foo is part of the duo LMFAO. They did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I know
Shots
who he
Fire.
is. I know who he is.
No. Red Foo's a friend of mine, so I got a tickle out of that. He, Stefan Gordy, son of Barry Gordy. He was in a couple of my improv classes when I was going through IO West. He's a very interesting fella, so I was just marking hard every time they said Red Foo Kung Neck or whatever they were doing instead of the redneck Kung Fu thing. Very nice guy. I go, hey, they give me a shout out on TV. It's like, oh, awesome. He's now into women's tennis. He's a women's tennis coach. It's amazing. He's such a weird dude.
Yeah. Got that devilish flow, rock and roll, no Halo Wheat party rock. Yeah. Yes. All right. I love LMFAO.
Okay.
And Emily loves them too. So Briscoe gets the win. So he's got 3 points. Lethal has 0. Rush has 6. They're all eliminated. Mox and Swerve are tied with 12, and Jay White has 9. And the guys shook hands after the match, kind of didn't embrace. No, Jarrett and the rest of the wacky crew didn't show up, so just kind of left it at that.
Next year, Satnam's taking this thing.
Maybe. They had a little video package this past Monday. MJF was inducted in the Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. It's kind of nice in Long Island. There wasn't really anything of note in this thing. Just, kind of a babyface thing. And then later on when he appeared, he's kind of back to being a heel at this point. Like, it's really weird. He's not even pretending to be a babyface anymore, which I think is good. I think the fans actually like this version of MJF better than the guy that's pandering and doing the chants and everything,
Yeah, it is interesting. I actually liked the vignette about the induction in the Hall of Fame.
That was fine.
A nice moment and things like that. But yeah, it does. It's so weird because I just think Max is not a great baby face. That's the weird thing. Like, I remember Alvarez like, we need to make this guy a baby face, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't see him as being good at it necessarily. I mean,
I think the best version of babyface MJF is when he's insulting other heels.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he was doing here tonight. Except
him with Cody was good. That story up until the turn was really good.
Yeah, him and Cody. I mean, him and Joe, I kind of like their dynamic too.
But let me ask this: given the devil story and how rampant it is, should he be that cocky or should he be nervous? Because that's where it's kind of
the way he's acting, it sure seems like he's the devil.
Yeah,
because he's so cocky.
And I wonder if that's a choice for that reason.
Yeah, it's either a tell or it's a
red herring. Yeah,
it's a red herring. Yeah. Yeah, he should be, because Joe seems more worried about the devil's people than he is. MJF seems more annoyed by it. Although tonight, I think we had like 15 guys in masks. And the whole story, I think it's your buddy Sean said, the people under the masks, they're always been the people. And so what? Devil's got 15 minions now.
We had red shirts who weren't really devil's minions. They were red herrings too.
I did throw out something.
It was like multiplicity. They made replicants of replicants.
I had thrown out something in the Discord. I said, I don't have any inside information or anything, but this kind of would make sense and you could make sense of it. And what it ended up being, or I might have even said it on the show last week. And it ended up like they threw it out there tonight with the Mogul Embassy possibly being the minions and Swerve being the devil. So I don't think that's what it is. In fact, I think almost positive now because they introduced it that it's probably not that. But we'll get into that in a bit.
Can I be the person to say I just want this angle over with?
Yeah, it's going to be over. It's going to be over at World's End. So you pay your $50 and you'll see the angle end.
Or wait till Wednesday. I'll get it for free. It'll be great.
Wait till 5 minutes after it happens. It'll be on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Speaking of the devil and everything, we got a Wardlow video package, and this is pretty good. So I wrote this down. He said, "This is a battle between good and evil, Max. The clock is ticking. We're getting closer and closer to your world ending. We've seen you run. We've seen you cry. We've seen you be weak. Soon the world will see you broken, Max. The payment for your sins cannot be delayed any longer, and I will be the one to bring the devil to his knees." This is a solid promo.
I liked this a lot, and it would
Yeah.
be a shame if Wardlow is just a second banana for somebody. If
Maybe he's the devil.
Well, if he's in this group,
yeah,
I want this. I mean, God, wrestling has not done this in so long to have a stable of equals versus a stable where it's like a guy and a bunch of henchmen.
Yeah.
Give me a stable of equals with Wardlow standing up for himself and being this guy the entire time. And I guarantee you'll have a much more interesting stable than whatever you come up with.
You know what the closest thing to a stable of equals that we've had in a long time is? Well, the Shield.
The Shield was close. But you always knew that they were going to break off Roman because he came down his own stairway. But yeah, Judgment Day, I would agree there.
Yeah. I mean, and that's part of the storyline now is like, who's the leader? And actually, even Damage Control right now is kind of like that.
In some ways, yeah.
Yeah. Originally, it was not like that.
No.
All right. We got highlights of Hangman being taken out last week by the Minions, which leads to Joe coming down to the ring. Crowd loves him. Oklahoma City, my name is Samoa Joe. Once again, I've come here to seek answers. Last week, I was asking the right questions, but I wasn't asking the right people. And even though Roderick Strong might be the dimmest bulb on the Christmas tree, he's got a point. That was a great line. Each week, we are assaulted by the devil, but MJF isn't the only victim. Hangman Page was a victim. When the devil attacked someone, but when MJF was attacked, he was conveniently passed out on the ground. So once again, I've come here asking the right questions, but not the right people. So MJF, get your ass out here. And the crowd's into MJF. They were totally into Joe as well. And he says, Joey Samoa, let me get this straight. I get jumped in the back by a bunch of goons and you're accusing me of being behind the mask of the devil? Joe says, correct. And Oklahoma City, I recall something. He was going to protect me and our main event going into Long Island for the world title. Matter of fact, if I recall correctly, you said, henceforth, you are my property. The crowd starts chanting, no show Joe. And MJF notes that, and he says, you care about it as much about your property as you do about your diet. And the heel line there. And he says, since we're throwing around accusations, Joey, I got some accusations of my own. Oklahoma City, you want to hear them? He says, I get jumped in the back. Goons are surrounding the ring, but they don't lay a finger on you, Joe. And he says, let's see. I don't like you. I don't trust you. Why am I waiting until December 30th at World's End when I can end your world right now? He gets in his face. He takes off his jacket, takes off his belts, and they just stare at each other. Then he shoves them. And before they can get into it, outrun the devil's minions. And I wrote down there's a lot of them. And Joe threw them all out of the ring, basically almost by himself. And then we get more coming in from the crowd. I counted at least 9. There may have been more. And they're on all 4 corners of the ring. And then, of course, the lights go out. Devil comes on the screen, doesn't say anything. And then it goes off. And then we get text on the screen. It says, where can you go? Who can you trust? Next week, will you accept a challenge for your ROH World Tag Team Champions? Here's the key line again. Are you a hero, Max? And then Joe accepted the challenge for Max. I swear to God, Adam Cole has used that "Are you a hero, Max" line at some point in a promo with him, like as like trying to convince him to be a good guy. You need to be a hero, Max.
This isn't the Max I know, or the good Max.
Yeah. So that's a total Adam Cole line. And I'm not sure if we're supposed to remember it or if it's somebody, throwing it out there to kind of put it on Adam Cole, but no one's even really talking about Adam Cole right now. So that's probably who it is. I mean, that's what everyone thinks it is, but I thought this was fine. I mean, the 15 minions was kind of goofy, but the promo exchange between Joe and MJF was great, I thought.
Oh, Samoa Joe is always welcome on my television in terms of promos. I mean, because he just brings it. Even if it's a ridiculous story like this, I mean, it just is heft. I mean, I'm with the guys on the boom. I want to belt Samoa Joe and put him in suits and just have him have that kind of big man on campus thing walking around AEW. I mean, I'm here for that.
When this was first announced, I was like, actually, I'll go even further back. When they first did the match, I was like, I just can't see Samoa Joe as the AEW World Champion. Like, I'll be honest, like that's kind of what I thought. And then it was remember that week I was off and you did the show with Kevin Ely and they did the commercial with Samoa Joe. where he was like, it looked like a commercial, but he was acting like he's all rich and lavish.
Yes, I
lifestyle.
love that. That was one of the best things they've done.
Yeah, and then like they did that for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we didn't see it again. But that kind of got my appetite wet. And then these promos now, I think he's winning the belt. Like I think
he'd be also a great transition guy to get to Swerve.
To Swerve or Cole, depending on when Cole's back. And then you could have MJF chasing Cole for the title. Which could be interesting because Cole and Joe could have heat depending on how this all plays out. And man, beating MJF in Long Island, that's tricky. But we'll see. Because when they booked that show, I gotta tell you, there was no doubt in my mind. Well, it doesn't matter who MJF is facing; he's winning. They're not beating MJF in Long Island, but I think they are.
They could. I mean, we don't have an official match for MJF, do we?
He's wrestling.
It's Joe. It's Joe. That's
yeah. But I mean, if it's the end of the thing, and if we get the Devil reveal, well, then maybe the fans will be happy.
Let me ask you this: do we get Joe and MJF in Long Island, or do the Devil's minions take him out next week? And then it becomes, the Devil wants the match.
And then maybe they're going to do the same thing they did at Full Gear and tease the match all night. And then MJF comes out
in an ambulance.
Heroic.
Yes, there we go.
Oh, God. Yeah, because everyone loved that so much last time.
I can see them doing a story for where the main event is in doubt.
Yeah, it's the Devil. It's the Devil against Joe.
Yeah,
for MJF's title.
Or no, it's the Devil against MJF.
No, it'd be the Devil against Joe if they took out MJF. Oh, maybe they take out Joe.
No, I was thinking they were taking out Joe. That's what.
That could be.
Well, and then whoever it is will reveal themselves. Then if it's Joe, okay, it's still Joe versus MJF.
He took himself out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we go backstage to a remarkable Renee Paquette, and she's with as she identified them, the best friends, which I thought the best friends were Trent and Chuck, but this is Orange Cassidy, Chris Statlander, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta.
I believe they are all as a collective known as the best friends.
Oh, okay. I thought they were all Chaos. I guess that
they are a subset of Chaos, but they are the best friends.
Okay, gotcha. So she says 2023 is winding down. What's the future look like for Rocky and Trent? I'm like, who cares? Rocky isn't even part of AEW. Trent's barely on TV. Rocky says, I just finished off 329 days as the CMLL historic middleweight champion, and I'm looking for new international opportunities. And Orange Cassidy says, oh, I guess that's a challenge then. And he says, how about Friday on Rampage? And then Statlander and Trent are all happy for Rocky. And Rocky's kind of acting like he didn't really want that match. It's kind of weird, but it was fine, I guess. They all leave, and Rocky's just in the middle there. And he's like...
They're all proud of him, too. It's like, hey, look, you got a title match. Isn't that great?
And he didn't really seem to care, or not even care.
He didn't want it.
He didn't want it, yeah.
He wanted another title match. He goes, hey, I lost my title. I'd really like to do this thing. And then all of a sudden it's, okay, I'll give you a title match. Fine.
He should have showed up. He should have showed up at that ROH pay-per-view, and he could have got a shot at the Triple Crown.
If he waits a week, he'll just be in a title eliminator match.
Yeah. What you see on the ROH, I watched everything this past weekend, including the ROH on Honor Club show. And I saw 10 minutes before the ROH pay-per-view started, one of those workhorseman dudes, Anthony Henry, I think, he just showed up and gets a shot at, if he can last 10 minutes with Eddie Kingston, he gets a shot at the Triple Crown when the tournament's over. These freaking Roosh is an idiot. He busts his ass in 5 15-minute matches just to get a shot into the playoffs, doesn't hit it. All this goofball Anthony Henry has to do is last 10 minutes with Eddie Kingston, and he gets a shot at the belt. That's not fair.
Well, life's not fair.
He lost anyway, so it doesn't matter. All right. They announced that. No, sorry, I got ahead of myself here. Toni Storm did her entrance, and she joined the announce desk, which for some reason was back up on the stage this week. It wasn't at ringside. Or maybe that's just Collision where they're at ringside and Dynamite they're on the stage. I'm not exactly sure.
I think when they do a joint taping, they'll put it in the Collision area when they do just Dynamite.
Then I thought maybe it was just because JR is going to be here tonight and they didn't want to make him walk all that far.
I, for one, would like to congratulate AEW with a shout out to Granny.
They shouted out Granny?
Kind of. Tony Storm looks at Taz and goes, "Oh, I hear you're a landlord, master of the duplex."
Oh, that's funny. I missed that. So she, because I fast forward the entrances, so that's probably when she said it. So she joins the announce desk, and we get Saraya and Riho, and the winner's going to get a title shot at World's End. I wonder who's going to win this one. Saraya is swung her into the barricades before the break. That looked like it hurt. And then Tony does her pitch to break, and Excalibur's mad because that's his job. They come back. Riho misses a dive. Saraya rolls her up for 2. Tony starts talking about tits, and then she says, "Speaking of tits, Saraya's about to win." It's like, oh my God, like she's just going on. Her words, not mine. And then Riho reversed the cradle, hit a Northern Light suplex for 2. They show Ruby watching from the back. I have no idea why. That's when Tony brought up her boyfriend. And then Riho does a stomp from the top and hit the double knee for the win. And this match was not very good.
It wasn't, but I was amazed at the size differential between Saraya and Riho.
Riho is a tiny woman.
Riho is tiny.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know she's always been small, but it's like we're talking like Yuka Sakazaki tiny almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why anybody would think Riho would get the title here.
No. You remember all those people that used to complain about Alexa Bliss's outfits?
And, people complain about Alexa Bliss's outfits?
Well, they said
who are these people? I'd like to beat them up.
Well, no, they said it was WWE promoting pedophilia or something.
Oh, you mean the okay. Oh, you mean the whatever the name of her doll is when she was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I hope they were doing that in here too. Because I don't know, Riho just like she dresses up like a little girl, and then they're constantly showing her panties. And
look, I am on record for a long time saying they need to eliminate that aspect of the Joshi stuff for AEW and make it more make these women look like they are professional athletes.
Even Shida does the thing where she rips open her top and stuff. Just do Emi Sakura. Just do that.
I don't mind you. I don't mind Yuka being a genie.
Oh,
whatever.
Yuka's great. I did the I was looking at my spreadsheet this week, and my number one AEW. Now I'm not counting Ring of Honor here. My number one AEW women's match this year. Do you know what it was? Was
it Athena and Emi?
No, it was Emi and no, because I think Athena and Emi might have been in our ROH match. It was Emi and Jamie Hayter. From a Rampage in January.
While we're on the women, what is with AEW's year-end? We need to put a women's tag team hardcore thing on a show, and just have women kill each other. Not that I mind.
Well, I mean, it's a tradition, I guess.
Now it is, I guess, but I didn't realize.
Well, I mean, they've done it like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah, I know, but at the same time, I'm like, did this thing need a death match right now? Okay.
Well, no, I mean,
I didn't mind it. Don't get me wrong.
I didn't like it at all. Like, I didn't think. It was
really? I wasn't. I wasn't offended by it. Let's put it that way.
Well, they fired Bunny, so they couldn't put her in it. Well, they didn't fire her.
Look, I'm a fan of Mercedes. I'm a fan of Mercedes Martinez. So I mean, whenever she can get screen time, I'm good with that.
I think singles. Well,
it just seemed very random, much like the.
It was very
random. we're gonna put Anna Jay and Ty Mello and our hardcore queens.
Yeah.
I'm glad they get a rest for a year. That's what I'm happy about. Let them rest up a bit. They come back next year and they can hit each other with barbed wire baseball bats or something.
I guess we should be glad it wasn't like Julia Hart and Sky Blue in there against Willow and Statlander. That could have been not very good.
Well, I'm here if on the other side was like Aja Kong and
Emi.
Emi Sakura. Yes, there we go. That's what I want.
Yeah, that was on
Collision. The only reason I want to see Julia Hart and Sky Blue in a tag team ever.
That was on Collision for those that want to see it. Jeff really liked it. I wasn't a huge fan. So.
I didn't say really liked it. I mean, I enjoyed it.
Okay, fair enough. So after the match, Tony said the mouse has done it, and Ruby was watching backstage, and now she's smiling. So I guess I think that the idea was Saraya gave her a hard time for losing to Riho, and now Saraya lost to Riho as well. So they're probably splitting those two up. Luther carried Tony down to the ring. He gave her some opera glasses, and she couldn't see Riho. Was a joke. She was so small, so she needed the glasses to see her. And then Ruby beat on her. Riho hit her with a 619, except Excalibur called it a tiger feint kick. Riho makes the belt sign, and then Mariah May attacked her from behind with the belt, ironically. And that was that. So Riho and Tony is the match, but Mariah May and Tony is the feud.
Is the feud, and Tony still doesn't know who Mariah May is.
No. So the idea is this is all about Eve?
Yeah.
Isn't Mariah May older than Tony?
I don't know.
I think she is.
I don't think so, is she?
Oh, they're both 25. Okay.
Tony Storm's only 25 years old?
I'm almost positive that is true, but I will double check.
That sounds wrong to me, my friend.
Sorry, she's 28. My bad. Okay, so she's 28. She's clearly Betty Davis, or Gina Gershon, as I prefer to look at this storyline. It's Showgirls. It's not all about Eve.
Okay,
shows you my
we'll
viewing
accept
of
it. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Tony Schiavone has a prepared statement. This was funny.
This thing killed me.
Ladies and gentlemen, he says, sorry to interrupt the proceedings, but I have a prepared statement from Christian Cage. So he starts reading, and he says, you better read this word for word and put some emotion into it, not like you usually mail it in. And he says, Oklahoma, sit down, shut your mouth, and have some respect while Tony Schiavone conducts my business. As the biggest, hottest, and most talked about star in AEW, he says, my presence in your lives is missed, and I feel it, or something. He says, I took Nick Wayne, and I think he said Killswitch too, but maybe it was just Nick.
I think it was just Nick. It was just Nick.
Yeah, on a well-deserved
Oh, and also vacation. You missed the line about him slapping the yellow off of Tony's teeth.
Oh, yeah, I did miss that. Emily was screaming in this. She doesn't like Tony or Christian, or maybe both. Anyways, the Rated R Superstars challenged me to a no DQ match at World's End. And just to put your mind at ease, I'll make my return on Collision, and I'll answer Adam Copeland. And I'll also answer any questions about what happened at Dynamite in Montreal 2 weeks ago. I expect nothing less than a hero's welcome. Sincerely, the TNT champion and the patriarch of AEW, Christian Cage. And then Christian's music plays, and Tony Schiavone just has this look of disgust as the segment ends. This was funny.
I like making Tony Schiavone uncomfortable. It makes me laugh. So yes.
I mean, they could have done a tape promo, but I think this was better.
It just makes him it makes Christian such an even bigger prick, and I love it.
Yeah. On Collision, we're going to hear from Christian Cage. We go backstage. MJF and Joe are arguing, and then Joe walks away, and MJF's walking, and he looks down and he sees a mask, a black mask, and it's right outside the Mogul Embassy's locker room. So the fans are like, ooh. And he knocks on the door. Nana answers, and he grabs Nana and throws the mask in his face. He says, what is this shit? And Swerve comes out and he says, be careful handling my property. And he says, nice to see you eye to eye. You've been ducking me this whole time. MJF said, yeah. He starts making fun of his song. And he says, Shane Strickland, look at you. We got a long history, long car rides on the roads on the indies. And look at you now. You're all grown up, beating some of the biggest stars in this company. However, I haven't been ducking you. He says, unfortunately for you, there are levels to this shit, and you're just not on mine. And he says, I don't hear your theme music, and therefore I don't see your star power. And then Swerve says, funny you bring up those car rides. You were the best chauffeur I ever had. I used to have the best sleep all around. He says, that interaction between you and Regal about an email, about a tryout that turned you into a whiny little bitch. He says, you do tryouts, I sign contracts. So be careful how you talk to me. The last person who did, I hung him outside the ring with a chain in front of 13,000 people. MJF says, you talk about Hangman a lot, almost obsessive. You talk about respect. Well, I'm your world champ, so check your tone and watch your mouth. And pull your Flavor Flav grill out while you're talking to me. And he says, come to think of it, you hate Hangman. You want to be the AEW World Champion. Why wouldn't you frame him with a beer bottle? Why wouldn't you try and get your goons in the Mobile Embassy to jump me left and right? And so you can be a world champion like you're truly. So I got a question for you. Are you the devil? I said, a part of me hopes so. You ask, is this your house? Well, I'm the big bad wolf of pro wrestling, and I'll blow your house down. I'll break both your arms so you can swerve all your drive. And Swerve just looks at him and he laughs. He says, I'm not the devil you're looking for, bro, but keep waving that belt in front of my face. And before they can get into it, Joe shows up and he says, "We got business." And Swerve, he says, "Swerve, go handle it," or something. Or Swerve tells him to go handle it. And then Nana says, "Oh, I forgot to tell you about Collision next week." And we don't hear what that's about. But I thought this was good because I think this is setting the table for MJF and Swerve, down the road and not too far down the road. So
I really liked this. I just, for the purposes of this angle, I just want one moment where all the people that they tried to frame as the devil or being responsible for this go after that stable.
Which stable?
The
devil stable.
This new devil stable, yeah.
Oh, so you get Hangman, you get
Hangman, you get the Mogul Embassy eventually trying to take a shot at him. You get
Joe.
Yeah. You get
Roddy.
Joe. Yeah,
he's probably going to be in it.
Roddy is, I'm fairly certain the Kingdom is part of this, whatever happens. But no, I liked this. There was some terminology that kind of made me a bit but I forgave it. He didn't really refer to Shane Strickland as boy, but it came close, and that was that towed the line a little bit for me. But I liked this overall. I mean, I kind of liked Strickland being just cool.
Yeah.
When MJF was just trying to rib him, and it's just like, I know your tricks. I know every trick in the book you have, and I'm just gonna let you insult me to my face. I'm gonna let you keep doing it, and then I'm gonna get menacing with it, which is the same thing Joe did.
I really liked the part where Swerve talked about how, you had that email from WWE and, you got all upset. And meanwhile, like, if you know the story, Swerve got signed by WWE. They went after him. And then the AEW, Max had to bug Cody for a year to try to get on All In. And then Tony signed him. And then Twan says he did call him boy. So there you go. But when Swerve was a free agent, AEW went after him and signed him. So he's
okay. I'm not going to defend it necessarily, but it was in the term of the boys all grown up, as opposed to say Harley Race talking to Ron Simmons. But I would understand if someone were offended by it too.
If he looked at me and said, "Get out of my face, boy."
Yes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if he said that, but no, this was more, boys all grown up, and that's more like, and Swerve could have come back and used the same line on him. Calling him the chauffeur was cool too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. You know what? I think these two are going to have a really cool feud pretty soon, and my guess is probably Revolution. Or if Joe wins the title, then maybe we're gonna get Swerve and MJF, maybe like a title eliminator, and the winner gets a shot at Joe, and that's where we get Swerve and MJF. I don't know. Roderick Strong gets Komander. This was there. No, the match was fine. I guess it was a weird match because Roddy just kept it grounded, and Komander didn't get to do a ton of his spots. In fact, all the way through the commercial break, they didn't. And then after the break, he finally got to do a bit. Crowd started to get into it. There's one spot where they were on the top rope, and Roddy was trying to do something. And Kingdom pulled Roddy out of the ring, and then Komander did his rope walk and did a moonsault onto all three, and the fans went nuts for that. But then Roddy rolled back in the ring. Komander went for a dive, but Roddy hit what they called an anti-air, and then he threw him up in the air and hit a backbreaker on the way down and got the pin. And he took off the neck brace before the match, and then after the match, he immediately threw it back on, which was fun. The match was fine. I had to laugh at I think it was Dave when they set this match up last week, and he's doing his recap. He's like, "Oh, so Komander's gonna have another good match and lose." It's like, yeah.
Komander is kind of their Ricochet for WWE for up until this last run with Logan Paul, whereas he's there to make a finisher look spectacular, because Roddy throwing him up for the somersault before the backbreaker thing, that was impressive. I watched that. I went, okay, there's a move that Komander's going to lose spectacularly And I think that's the fun of watching Komander now. Although I did like the Top Flight match quite a bit.
Yeah, that was on Rampage, and one of the better Rampage matches they've had. 6-man match. He kind of like reminds me a little bit of Ray too, and when he first came to WWE.
A little.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the argument Dave and Brian were having. Did Komander say Wednesday, or was he saying something else?
Oh yeah. Because he used he used the Mexican word for Wednesday, and they thought
I think it was Spanish, but yes.
Yeah. Or you're right. What did I say? Mexican?
Yes.
Sorry, my bad. Definitely Spanish.
You can find Paul at Paul Fontaine on X.
Yeah. So the Kingdom were running around ringside and putting up signs all over the place saying MJF is a devil. Renee comes into the ring with Roddy, and she says, "It's great to see you back in the ring." And she asks about the signs, and he says, "Renee, happy you're here." And he says, "Samoa, please listen to me. It's so obvious now that Max is a devil. Look, Hangman mentions Max is a devil. He gets taken out. So it's time to wake up, Joe, and believe me." And Renee says, "If Joe was going to heed your advice, wouldn't he have done so by now?" And then, "Renee, are you crazy? How can you say that? Samoa Joe is my best friend by proxy." And Renee just walked away disgusted. That was that. This was just a waste of time.
If you ever recap like that again, I may walk away disgusted. Not that you're not doing a good job of it, but I'm just so done with this yelling.
Jeff!
No, shut up. Jesus.
For those on audio, Jeff is walking away.
Oh no, it's just you blew up my eardrums. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
My apologies.
I'm so ready for Roddy to like just be a dirtbag again instead of this comedy thing.
Just put on a mask and be a devil's minion.
But yeah, no, I mean the match was there, but you're right. I mean it was mostly,
they're
trying so hard. They're trying so hard with this thing. It's just like, okay, let's just move on.
Yeah. We got a video. The angle we talked about earlier, Julia and Sky Blue, who may be turning into Sky Black. She was in all black, and Nigel called her that at one point, but they still called her Sky Blue here. But anyways, on Saturday, it's going to be Julia Hart and Sky Blue against Thunder Rosa and Abaddon. Cage versus Lee. Oh, Brian Cage versus Keith Lee. I just wrote down Cage versus Lee. I'm like, I have no idea what this
that could be 20 different people for each of those people.
Yeah, Brian Cage against Keith Lee. So I think we're heading to Lee and Swerve at World's End. We will hear from Christian. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass are defending their tag team titles against Top Flight and Action Andretti. And the way they announced this, man, when that 6-person match was over on Friday, I thought, man, Top Flight and Andretti got to be the next 6-man champs, but I don't think it's happening on Collision. I hope I'm wrong.
No, this is what they do though. They get a good match, and then they put you up immediately against whoever's holding the title to lose. So it's like never really get momentum as a contender in any way.
No, I mean I'd love it if they did the upset though. Claudio and Danielson in a tournament match, Brody and Garcia, and Andrade versus Eddie. And as I mentioned earlier, like pretty much everybody but Garcia is still alive. So there's a number of different scenarios that can happen. And realistically, anybody could advance. I expect it to come down to Danielson and Eddie Kingston, and then Eddie and Mox in the finals. That's my guess. I think Mox is pinning Jay White next week in the 3-way.
Was Danielson's first match against Eddie in this tournament, or was it somebody else? Or no, it was Andrade. Never mind.
No, Danielson's was against Eddie. I think he beat him.
Okay, so that would be a nice little wrap it up type thing, circular thing.
Yeah, and then you get Eddie having to go through the BCC because he beat Claudio, and then he
gets Mox in the finals.
Yeah. So that's to me that makes the most sense. If I'm booking and if it was up to me, I have Swerve win this thing, but I don't think that's happening.
No, I don't think they give him a triple crown if he's going to be in the world title picture.
Well, that's the thing. You wouldn't have him in the world title picture. You hold off on that for a while and establish his triple crown.
Okay.
But I don't think that's what they're doing. JR came out. He didn't even get his his intro on TV or anything, like his music. Maybe they did it off camera. I imagine they probably did.
They did.
They did? Okay. During the commercial or what?
Yeah.
Okay. So I fast forwarded that.
No, you didn't get to see it. They did it off camera.
Oh, okay. Moxley and Jay White main event. And they kept saying it's a must win for Jay White. The only way he can get into the finals is with a win. And but they don't explain that at first. Mox took forever to do his entrance. JR said that Mox reminded him of Travis Kelce. JR was great on this match, I thought. You did a really good job of putting over the strengths of both guys and calling the action, and no screw ups that I noticed. So it was good. I like JR in main events.
And for Kevin Neely's bingo card, they did mention Mid-South in Oklahoma City and said that he'd fit right in with the likes of Cowboy Bill Watts and Dick Murdoch and Hacksaw Butch Reed.
Oh, nice. Not Hacksaw Jim Duggan, though.
No, the real Hacksaw.
There you go. He pointed out he was wondering how much of a sense of urgency Mox is going to have because he doesn't need to win. So I thought that was a good point. But then Excalibur mentioned, well, he could lose in the finals without being pinned. So he doesn't really want it to be a three-way. JR pointed out that White had the advantage in quickness, but Mox slows things down and makes it painful. So right before they went to break, Excalibur explains next week's the league finals. Right now, as it stands, it's a singles match between Moxley and Swerve, but Jay White could change that. But he doesn't explain how Jay White could change that. And it just bugged me. And then after the break, he finally mentioned it, 5 minutes left in the show, that it's a three-way if White wins. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. They finally told us, but it's not going to happen.
This needed to be a graphic, like if Jay White with a Jay White head wins,
they had that.
If
they literally had that graphic, but they didn't put that in the graphic.
Yeah.
They just said if Jay White wins, it's a three-way tie.
Yeah.
But they didn't say it would be a three-way match. So this was a little pet peeve of mine. But now that we finally got it, 5 minutes left, I could get into this match. And White actually, he goes and he grabs two chairs outside the ring. And the ref gets in his face and he goes, "You don't want to get DQ'd." And then White just kind of shrugs his shoulders and throws one of the chairs into the ring. So Bryce Rensburg, the Mensa member, goes in to get that chair. And then Jay White uses the other chair to take out Mox's leg. And Mox sold it really well. And he almost got counted out, but he comes in at 9. Jay White went for a Blade Runner, but then Mox reversed into Paradigm Shift and got a 2. Crowd's going nuts. They channel "Let's Go Mox." They did a chop battle. Mox got a 2 after a knee strike. They did the Fry Takayama spot. Then Mox hit a cutter. Jay White hit a sleeper suplex and a Uranagi for 2. He hit a Kiwi Crusher for 2. Taz said we're at 14 minutes now. Jay is again trying to go for the Blade Runner, but Mox took him down with a King Kong Lariat. Went for another Blade Runner, but Mox hit another Lariat. Then he did a stomp. But didn't go for a pin. He went for the Death Rider, but Jay White reversed it and he hit the Blade Runner and got the win. The finish was kind of flat, but also kind of cool. Like it really put over the Blade Runner because he'd been going for it the whole match. And when he finally hit it, it won. So it put over that finisher like strong, totally clean, like not the slightest bit of cheating. And Jay White advances. It's a 3-way. I really did not think this was happening. I figured for sure Mox was just going to beat him and they're going to do a match next week between Mox and Swerve. But I guess the idea here is now Jay White's in the 3-way. Mox will get his win back and Swerve doesn't get pinned, is my guess.
Maybe. I've been thinking about this though while we were going over this match.
Okay.
If Mox and Swerve take each other out and we have Jay White win this thing and to go against Eddie,
that's not bad because if you know your history, Jay White and Eddie Kingston, that was the match that got Jay White kicked out of New Japan.
Right.
It was on Battle, the San Jose thing earlier this year.
Yeah, and
Battle in the Valley.
It'd be kind of weird, for Moxley to cheat against Swerve and Swerve not get revenge against Mox.
So Swerve cheats and knocks out Mox, and then maybe Jay White hits him from behind and then pins Mox.
Maybe something like that, or just the two of them cancel each other out, and Jay White ends up going through, and none of us see that coming. That would be interesting.
I didn't see this coming. I'll be honest.
I didn't see this coming.
I was shocked. I was,
and you were right about the anticlimactic part of all of it. It's like nobody was really expecting Jay White to win this because I think they just didn't hype it in terms of Jay White needs this to get into the finals type of a thing. And I think maybe they played that low so that when it happened, everybody was kind of like a little confused. I mean, maybe they were going for that.
maybe. And like
I'm still getting over your name drop of Mensa for Bryce Remsburg because I have a theory about Mensa, and it's a waste of money to me. But the people who really want to tell you they're in Mensa are also the type of people who you don't think are smart, so they always have to advertise that they're in Mensa.
Do you remember Dave a couple weeks ago casually mentioned that Mensa tried to recruit him, and he had no interest in it?
Well, you take a test, and but it's like the two people I know that always say that they're in Mensa, I love to name drop that, are Kathy Kelly and porn star Asia Carrera.
Oh, fine company.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
I honestly thought you were going to say a mutual friend of ours. I won't say his name.
Okay.
He's from your hometown, and he's a big hockey fan.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
From my hometown or from
well, okay, no, from your town you live in now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I it's a gimmick, but whatever. People put it on a resume. I like the match though.
Yeah, I thought it was a good match. I thought this and the Jay White Mark Briscoe match were like clearly.
It's just weird because like I would have loved like a promo to set it up. Like Jay White's looking at the score, looking at the way to in, and it goes, "My only way in is to beat Jon Moxley," and that would have helped you, and that would have helped you too with the whole...
like they could have done like a quick promo before the match, and say, you know what, Jay White and Swerve are in, Moxley and Swerve are in. Jay White, you got a chance to add yourself into this and make it a 3-way, and then Jay White could just say, everyone's forgotten about me. I've beaten this person, I've beaten that person, and I'm gonna beat Jon Moxley.
Maybe they bring back, they could bring the insert promos.
Yes,
when people are coming down to the ring. I always thought those weren't the worst things in the world either. Because I just watched King of the Ring '93, and I think they did that for a couple of things too. So yeah, I think instead of leaning so heavily on exposition from your play-by-play team, sometimes just have the guys tell the story themselves in a short little vignette promo as they're doing their entrance type of a thing.
I think I'll bet you that a lot of the fans watching didn't know that Jay White advanced until after the show when Tony Khan comes out and tells them.
Yeah. Well, I think the people live, at least the people who were watching, it was rammed down your throat that this was going to be a 3-way.
Right. No, I'm talking about the people in the building.
Yeah.
Like, so for them to see Jay White get pinned, they might have thought Moxley was eliminated. Like, even though they did hammer home the idea that Mox punched his ticket into the finals last week by getting to 12. And the funny thing is,
this whole thing would be so annoying to me if I were live, because that's when you start getting the know-it-alls in the audience. It's like, no, you see, this and this. It's like, shut up, man. I'm just trying to watch a wrestling show.
Well, clearly they're going to do a 3-way. It's like, yeah, well, they didn't explain that they were. Anyways, so the Gold League finals next week on Dynamite will be a 3-way: Moxley, Swerve, and Jay White for the spot in the finals at World's End. And then at World's End, we're going to get the Gold League winner against the Blue League winner. Tony Storm and Riho has been signed. Tony Khan's informed us, even though that match was for a shot at Tony, they had to tell us that he signed it. And then MJF and Joe for the world title. And they didn't go over Dynamite for next week. I think the only thing announced is, those finals, and then also the MJF and Joe defending. I think they're defending against the Devil's Minions again, which they've advertised this once before. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. I don't think
it's going to be another red herring. I think they're going to jump Joe.
Probably.
I do. I think the lights are going to go out. Joe will be laid out, and there'll be no contest.
Yeah. Oh, if they do that again. Swerve came out after they announced all this, and he just
it'll be symmetrical though. You can't be mad at it, because the first time they did it was Max who was laid out.
True. Swerve comes out and he's taunting Moxley and Jay White, and I think he went after one of them or something. I didn't write it down because I was distracted, but nothing.
I had already tuned out by then. I figured they were just going to stare at each other.
Yeah, they literally, I think, just did that for the fans in the building so they would know it was a 3-way. Yeah, and then Tony Khan had to probably go out and tell them because he wasn't quite sure that point got across. Because they may have thought, like, honestly, the way that played out, they may have thought that it was just Swerve going out to challenge Jay White, because Moxley was kind of back in the corner, and it looked like, if you weren't listening to the commentary and you saw Jay White pin and then you saw Swerve come out, you probably thought the finals was Swerve and Jay White. I mean, it's very legit, because they also were telling you that head to head, the winner advances, and Jay White just beat Moxley, so how can Moxley be in the finals? So anyways, I mean, but they explained it, so that's it. That's all. And now we got Collision on Friday or on Saturday, and got the very real possibility of a 5-way. But I think what's going to happen is Garcia. I think the opening match is going to be Garcia and Brody, and Garcia is going to get the upset, and that's going to eliminate Brody.
Okay.
So now you got Claudio and Danielson, and you got Eddie and Andrade. So your next match is probably going to be Claudio and Danielson. And there's a chance. So I think if they go to a draw, I think Danielson would advance because he'd have enough points. But only if Eddie beats Andrade. So then you would have Danielson in first place with 10. And you would have Eddie. If Eddie beat Andrade, they would be in second, tied with 9. But Eddie would advance because he beat Andrade. I believe that's the points. So I could see Danielson and Claudio drawing, or Daniel could just beat Claudio too. But I don't really see the point in doing that. But if Claudio pins Danielson, then it's real interesting because then you got a bunch of people are going to end up with 9. So they could end up just doing another 3-way, which would be bad.
Is there any way that Andrade is eliminated on Saturday?
Yeah. If
because
if
I'm
Eddie
thinking
beats Andrade, so the way that he's unbeaten is if Garcia beats Brody, if Danielson beats Claudio or draws with Claudio, and if Eddie beats Andrade, then the final is Eddie and Danielson.
Because part of me thinks Eddie Danielson is good, but part of me also thinks Eddie Danielson and Claudio in a 3-way as well.
I don't know.
I don't think you can do that though. Yeah.
Okay, so
let's do the 5-way on a ladder and put like a ring on it, and then we'll just,
Well, okay, so if Claudio beats Danielson and Eddie beats Andrade, I think you'd have 4 people with 9. So there'd be a 4-way tie. Now I don't know what the head-to-heads would be.
If he does 2 multi-man matches, he's a fool.
Well, I don't know if there would be, because then you go to head-to-head and you might have 2 guys with 2 and 1.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd have to look at that.
I'm still going with Eddie. I'm still going with Eddie and Danielson. And
now we're
Eddie
starting to sound like Dave and the G1.
Yeah, I know. This is bad audio, but at the same time, I'm going to just go with Eddie Danielson rematch, and Eddie somehow finds a way past Danielson.
Yeah, I think you just go with the obvious. The question would be Danielson and Claudio, whether ultimately that's almost meaningless, like unless Claudio wins, but Danielson could draw or he could win. And I mean, I kind of like the idea of Claudio cheating to win, but because he already did that once. Moxley did it once, and Wheeler won the pure title by cheating. So
right,
yeah. But I think we're going to end up, and then so finals will be Eddie and Danielson on one side, and Moxley, Jay White, and Swerve on the other, and then you get Moxley and Eddie. I mean, that's I think what everyone wants to see.
No, that would be perfect for this. I think.
Yeah, and then Eddie wins, and this whole tournament was meaningless.
And then everybody will jump down my throat about what a perfect booker Tony is. And I'm like, he did well on the tournament. If that's what happens, great.
Yeah. And he just did.
And I think in the Blue League, I think it's really helped Andrade. This tournament really helped and Brody, I think, a little bit,
and even Garcia. The fans are really behind him.
I don't think it's helped Garcia a bit, but
okay.
I mean, but being in the tournament, I mean, we need to move away from the dancing. We really do.
Yeah. Well, if he wins,
and I thought that's what this tournament was going to do, is that he's going to come in there and he's going to be serious Daniel Garcia and show people, even if he loses, that he's a serious wrestler, etc. So instead, they just did the same thing.
You know what's hurting me with Garcia is having freaking Matt Menard out there doing commentary for his matches every week, but it's kind of hard to take him seriously when that's happening.
Okay,
let's go, Danny. Let's go, Danny. Danny Garcia is The Rock's ex-wife. That's not the guy in the ring. His name is Daniel.
Okay.
Sorry. Anyways. All right, we went a little quick today, but we're 120. That's good. Because now we got commercials, so it'll end up being pretty close to 90 minutes. Jeff, get your plugs in.
At Crap Game 13 on X. I do a show called Shake Them Ropes on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. As I said, we were a little late this week because I was stuck in the Cincinnati airport for 12 hours as I had a flight that was delayed 10 times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I got punched in the face by Sean Ross Sapp. That was fun, but yeah, we had a good time at the Bengals game. Gonna do another show probably on Friday. We'll see what we watch. We'll see what we're gonna do. Who knows? It's me and Chris Novembrino. So yeah, it should drop later this week, but who knows? We may just combine it all into a big mega show next week. I have no idea what we're gonna do. I'm just trying to plug it.
Yeah, just look for that on Shake.
But we did do a show that released Tuesday morning, I believe, or Monday morning, where we kind of went over a few things from last week's Dynamite and then reviewed King of the Ring 1993.
Oh, cool. And that's on the Voices of Wrestling free feed, right?
Yes.
All right, cool. And for me, I do this show. I also do the show with Ryan Frederick, although we've been off the last couple of weeks. Last week, Ryan's thing with his dad, I think that everything was good there if you were listening last week. And so, yeah, I think prayers work. And this week, it was just a scheduling thing. And but we'll be back in the new year. We're taking a couple weeks off because there's no UFC. So we'll be back in the new year once the UFC starts up again, and we'll be on the free feed, so you can look for that. And other than that, I am the only other thing I got to plug. I'm doing a show with our friend David Lovell next week, the surprise show. 15 songs that appear random, but they're not random at all. I got the best theme. It's going to be a great show. So tune in. I'll tweet it. I'll put it on my Facebook, and you'll hear 15 great songs, and you'll hear me explain how they all relate to each other. Yeah,
and sometime in the next 2 weeks we might get this Hall of Boom thing going.
Hall of Boom, yeah, we're going to do that over the holidays at some point. Hall of Boom, the best of the year in AEW. That's why I do my spreadsheet.
I'll be winging it.
Female superstar of the year. It's not Tony Storm. If it's Tony Storm, I'm quitting. It's probably gonna be Tony Storm. So I like James. Oh, I was going to mention to you. You listen to Boom, right?
Yes.
James is going to quit watching wrestling if the Kingdom are part of this the Devil's Goon Squad.
Uh-oh.
But he also said he'll keep doing the podcast.
Yes, as well as he should.
Yeah,
he could do the podcast without watching the product. It's easy.
Pretty sure he doesn't watch the product most weeks anyway. Mm-hmm. Oops. Did I say that? I'm just kidding. James is he clearly watches. Yeah,
you're just burying everybody today, aren't you? Let's wrap this up, sir.
All right. For Jeff, I've been Paul, and this has been the Dynamite Show.